Welcome to the Makeover Your Mindset podcast. I'm Cassie MacKenzie. Think of me as your BFF for manifestation and high vibe mindset makeovers. It's my personal mission to turn your inspiration into action so you can be, do, and have everything you've ever dreamed of having in life. This podcast will focus a ton on creating fulfilling relationships with money, friends, and soulmates, and inspire you to have fun so you can live the most extraordinary life you've ever imagined. If you're ready to take to the next step, then you've come to the right place. Thanks again for joining me. Now let's begin. And we are back to the action. Welcome to the Makeover Your Mindset podcast. I'm Cassie MacKenzie, and I'm a manifestation coach for women who want to become manifestation queens so they can create a life and business they love. And of course, filled with money and love and freedom and travel and all that awesome stuff. So I've been so busy with the Business Manifestival that's been going on. It has just blown my mind. It's been so amazing. We have had speakers on sales on social media, how to make your business easy and fun, how to attract ideal clients to you, how to balance your masculine and feminine energy and really be more authentic in your business. And this has been a theme that's been going on for the last week. So I've really had to, sit back and ask if I've been really authentic too, and, where I can increase my authenticity so that you guys know the real me. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm the same person in real life, but I feel like in a way, the pharmaceutical sales industry, spending 20 years there, has kind of turned me into a sales drone. So if that makes sense, uber professional and all that jazz. And, I think this has just been so great. The Business Manifestival has been amazing. So it's given me all sorts of new ideas and things that I can do to make my manifestation coaching not just different than other people's, but more of me. So stay tuned. I think there's going to be some changes coming, but nothing major. It's all good stuff. So with that being said, this interview was This interview was recorded about a month ago with Lauren Megan. And Lauren Megan is a quantum power coach. She's an amazing, amazing soul. And we got along so well that I decided to invite her into the Business Manifestival as well. And her specialty really is helping her clients, stepping into their feminine energy. And that's something that I definitely could use some help with, to be honest. I've always operated from a more masculine energy, like a do type energy. So for me, this was a really great conversation because it taught me a lot about how to really achieve more of a balance, because that feminine energy is what's going to give you that flow. And also it introduced me into the world of womb healing, which then, crazy enough how the universe delivers it, no pun intended, it then led to the ladies in my mastermind, going through this big expansion through womb healing and things like that. It just all culminated within the next week of doing this interview too. So, but Lauren's an intuitive mentor. She's an energy healer. She's a mother. She also has a podcast called Unapologetically Divine, and she teaches quantum power and feminine leadership. So, this is going to be a really fun conversation, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. If there's still time to get in on the Business Manifestival. It ends on the 14th with Melanie Ann Lair. I'm so pumped. We are just stacked solid this week with amazing, amazing women that are coming on as the guest experts. And so happy to be able to host this in my private group, the Badass Manifestation Queen. So if you're already a part of that group, then welcome. And if you're not, then what are you waiting for? Go get on in there. It's the Badass Manifestation Queen on Facebook. We are growing at quantum leaps and bounds and all that. So Also, if you've missed out on the Business Manifestival, I've now created something fucking epic called the Manifestation Queen Experience. And this is my membership portal that every month you are going to learn how to be a manifestation queen in one new area of life. So the first topic, of course, is going to be manifesting money and abundance and really embodying the wealthy woman. So we are going to be hitting wealth consciousness head on, and it's really going to blow you away. So if you feel like you love listening to the podcast and you are always searching for more information around manifesting, then this might be for you, because for me, I used to do the same thing where like I would search out all the information, I'd read books, but then I didn't have any way to ingrain it into my life. I didn't have any accountability or coaching to do that. So that's what this membership portal is going to do, because I'm going to be doing live trainings in there where you'll interact with me and my vibe and my, expertise around these topics, and really be able to ingrain it in there as if it was a whole big group coaching program. So go check it out. It's at makeoveryourmindset.com/experience. Oh shit, no it's not. makeoveryourmindset.com/queen. Queen, as in the band with Freddie Mercury, and also as in Mercury. This is the last day of Mercury retrograde, so perfection on all levels. Thank you guys so much. If you really love this episode, or if you really love the podcast, go ahead and hit 5-star review on iTunes so that more people can find us. And with that, here's Lauren. I keep wanting to call her Megan, but here's Lauren. Have a great day. Welcome back for another episode of the Makeover Your Mindset podcast. Oh my God, I am so excited. Today we have a very special guest who, funny enough, I've been to her house, she's been to my house, but we've never met each other. This is not a riddle, guys. This is true life. I love it. But so today we have Lauren Valdez. Did I pronounce your last name right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, cool. Valdez. Okay, perfect. And oh my gosh, I can hear my daughter screaming from the other room. She can hear me through the open window. Okay. Today we have Lauren Valdez, and Lauren is a quantum power and leadership coach. She works to heal and guide conscious mothers and light leaders to tap into their divine feminine so they can receive more of their desires and step into their unlimited power and potential. I mean, who doesn't want to do that? So they're crazy if they don't want to do that. So she works with the energies of the quantum field to heal and transcend the women she serves. And boy, are you going to get some questions about that today, because I am obsessed. I was just telling Lauren before we started that I've recently joined a mastermind where I think I've come in, I'm the one with the most masculine energy out of the 7 of us. And although I'm way better than I was a year ago and 2 years ago and everything. So, but I'm learning so much about numerology and feminine everything pretty much. And astrology and how everything fits in. And I'm really starting to become a little obsessed with human design. I think it's just another piece of icing on the cake. It's just, I love learning more about, myself and about others, and how to interact and really get the most out of life, So welcome, Lauren. I can't wait to catch up.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, so I'm really excited. I feel like everything that we're going to talk about, I can just talk about for hours. But yeah, I'm a mom too. So I live in Clearwater, which is 25 minutes away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I am a Reiki healer. I work with the energies. I'm very intuitive. It took me a while. We can kind of talk about that, but it took me a while to really own my gifts and all the things, but we can just dive in. I'm here for it all.
Yeah. So well, tell me about that. As far as being intuitive, how did you know that you had gifts to begin with? And what was that process of really accepting them, and what sort of gifts? Because I'm, learning that there's a whole big wide range of, of it all.
Yeah, so it's actually really interesting. So my background, I grew up in the Catholic Church. I went to Catholic school for 13 years, and I was never really taught to tap into my own like internal gifts. I think we're all gifted. We all have psychic ability. We all can tap into like this quantum field and source energy and all of the things. But just being raised Catholic, I was taught that that was really outside of myself. So to be honest, I didn't really know when I was younger that I was super intuitive. I would have like little downloads. I always think about this. I was actually in church in the day of September 11th. I looked at my best friend Rachel and I was like, something really bad is happening today. And it was like 8 o'clock. And then
Oh.
later that day, we found out about September 11th. So it was even before like any planes hit. I just kind of had this knowing. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, my grandfather died. And same thing. I was in church. It was literally like 3 weeks after September 11th. And same thing, I just had this feeling like someone was going to die. And I know that sounds really morbid, but it was just like this knowing.
It was
Um,
like in Star Wars where there's a disturbance in the force and they can tell,
yeah, for
you
sure.
know.
So I'm not a
We
big
can,
Star Wars fan, so I actually have no idea what that
you don't have a 4-year-old in Disney Plus. We are
is.
all now, yeah.
But sure, yes, it seems right. So anyway, like I really suppressed all this. But as I, like was in university and college, I started to kind of really dive into meditation because
Mhm.
I was super anxious. I was, like using Adderall just to get through my days, and um, I was just not in a very good place. I wasn't happy, so I ended up going to a therapist there, a counselor there on campus. And I just told him, I was like, I want to learn how to handle this. I don't want to be given medications. I just feel like I need some tools. And
Yeah.
I started meditating and I just started tapping in. And my best friend around the same time really got into yoga, and I just started
Yeah.
to play around with everything. And there were times where I fell away from it and times that I came back in, but it always pulled me back. And I would say when I got pregnant with Elliot, my daughter, that's really where things started to shift for me. That's really where I honed in on my gifts and my spirituality and
Really?
my connection to God. And I saw my birthing experience and my laboring experience as such a gift, and such a way for me to really tap into my own internal power, which is something I teach the women I work with is, we all have this own internal power. And a lot of times that's given to other people, or we look for other things to validate it or tell us that we're worthy or enough, right? So my pregnancy was like this huge experience of me just tapping into my own gifts, tapping into my divine feminine. I had a natural birth in a birthing center, which everyone said I could not do. And I saw God. And like, when you're in labor and they always tell you like you'll hit a moment where you just can't do it anymore. I don't know if you had that experience, but I did. And I looked at my midwife and I was just like, I cannot do this anymore. You guys need to send me to the hospital and
Oh
just let
no.
the baby out. And they're like, no, you can do this. And my midwife said something to me and she's just like, you just need to surrender. Like you're fighting your contractions, just surrender. So I did, and I saw God, and like literally we started pushing after that, and she came out, and it
Wow.
was just such a like divine experience. And from that point forward, I just started to really own my connection. And now, I do hire mentors, I hire guides to help, teach me little tricks. But I just worked with a mentor, and it's funny because she's actually out in San Diego, and we were just talking about San Diego and
Yeah.
out there. And I just hired a mentor, and we were tapping into all of my intuitive gifts. And she's just like, you're an open channel. Like you can really do it all. Like I can see past lives. I can see,
Oh.
I can feel things. There's just this knowing within me. But for so long, I suppressed that for so long. I didn't trust that within myself. and it's still a process. I just wrote an email about this, about how much I've had to shed and remove from my subconscious to really step into
Mhm.
the space, you know? So it's still work. I wouldn't say like I'm there. Not at all, but it's a really beautiful journey when like you own your gifts. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I have any intuitive gifts. I mean, I can tap into my intuition and follow
Yeah.
that like gut instinct for me, but I
Mhm.
don't
So
believe
that's
that.
knowing. Yeah, that's just like
Yeah.
knowing.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
But as far as like seeing the future, things like that, or I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
think I have that.
Right, like, if you manifest, that's you seeing
Mhm.
the future, that's you playing with a quantum field. You
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Well, true.
the visualization process is you just tapping into another field of possibility, and then
Mhm.
bring that into your reality. So think about all the
Yeah.
things you've manifested in your life, and then you're like, "Oh my gosh, at one point in time, that wasn't even, like, a real reality, and now I made it a reality because I saw it." So
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Like with this house, it was like that. And then I became an NLP practitioner, and
Yeah.
I always tell this story about how like I have a really hard time with visualizing things, and like even visualization exercises and stuff. Like, I don't know, I feel like my ego plays with my head, like it'll like come in and show me like really random shit. You know what I mean? And then um, but there was this one exercise where it was like where you placed a goal into the future, and it was the very last day we were there. And after like 8 days of my husband being able to do like everything, and I was like, we'd come back and I was so frustrated. So I was like, I can't visualize for shit. Like, this is BS, like, ah, I was like freaking out. But then the last day, finally we did that. And I totally like, it went so well. And I could actually visual. And I literally like, that was February, and then we closed on this house at the end of June. And like I remember I had that moment that I had visualized in my head, and we were actually living it like that first weekend we moved here. It was pretty wild. So
Yeah, isn't that funny? Yeah, that's basically like what it is. But I think sometimes, it's just like some people are feelers,
yeah.
like some people just feel things and that's their intuition speaking to them.
Yes, I think that's for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. There was something recently that happened where I was like, I have a bad, like, I don't know, like I don't have a great, and yeah, it
Yeah.
turned out, yeah. But you were saying, I'm sorry. I am just so excited.
No, I think, and like, here's the deal. And I always say this to my clients is it's just something to play with,
Mhm. Yeah.
when you tap in, it's really just, and this is hard for a lot of people, but, and I had to learn this the hard way because I used to only do guided meditations.
Mhm.
And something in me, like a while back, was just like, you're not supposed to be doing guided meditations anymore. We need you just to like listen to us, like just like sit.
Mhm.
For the longest time, I would sit and like my mind would wander and I'd be like, what am I doing here? And I didn't feel any shifts or transformations. And now when I sit and I'm quiet and I just like focus on my third eye or focus into my heart center, that's really where the connection happens.
Mhm.
So it is, it's like being still and it's being really open to receiving the messages, because your ego will try to block it and your ego will try to tell you a different story. But that's a different feeling. The ego likes to play on fear,
Yeah.
and the soul likes to play on love and bliss and joy and more of those positive emotions.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I started doing just like non-guided meditations too just recently. But,
Yeah.
I have to like go out into my car and in the morning and do that or else you get found.
Yeah, I have to wake up like really early and I like have to find like just some place where no one's around me. Um,
Mhm.
it's usually in the morning, like Justin's getting ready, the dog's crying to go to the bathroom, and
Yeah.
then once Elliot wakes up, like that's it. Like there's no
Yeah.
meditating,
No, no.
So it's
And yeah, everything I've been reading and following and listening to lately all says like meditation is the answer. Like and there's that internal struggle where people say like, oh, I don't have time to sit there. And I'm like the one, like, I'll say the same thing. Like, I can't find 30 minutes or an hour to do that every day. Are you kidding me? But then I would ask you, like, have you found that meditating for that, like that chunk of time that takes up, time that you could be doing work or this or that or the other, does it actually end up saving you time over the course of a day or a week or whatever, because you're not spinning your wheels doing all the wrong shit? You're opening yourself up to receive what you really should be doing.
Yeah, because here's the deal, time isn't real. And
Mm-hmm.
when you understand that concept, you're able to collapse time. You're able to, like, I just did it today. I only had so many hours in the day. I needed to get my nails done, I went to Starbucks, dropped Elliot off with my mom, got my nails done, went to TJ Maxx to find an outfit, tried it on, hated it, decided I didn't want to be there anymore, left. Like, when you go to a department store and you're like, I kind of want to shop, but then you just like are there and you're like, this doesn't even feel good right now. I don't want to be here. Well, I had one of those moments. We'll talk about that with the feminine, because that's the feminine, allowing the feminine to lead the way, instead of forcing to do something you don't want to do. So I left, I came home, had lunch, recorded a few videos, washed all the dishes. Our dishwasher is broken right now, so like I have to hand wash all the dishes, which takes so much time. Got dinner ready, wrote up a really juicy post or a really juicy email for my email list, and am now recording this podcast. And that's a lot of things to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I started my morning off with a meditation. I just said, okay, today's, we got a lot to do, but we're going to get it done. We're going to collapse time. It's not going to feel rushed. It's not going to feel pushed. And, time's like endless. So I think when it comes to that is you have to really make the time for it, and you have to decide, and that might sound really abstract to some people, but it's the truth of the matter. If you want to tap into your intuition, if you want to feel more connected to source, God, spirit, light energy, whatever you want to call it, you have to really allow the space for that to happen. And when you do, the universe is going to provide for you, and the universe is going to make it a hell of a lot more easier to get shit done,
Yeah. It's so funny that you said time isn't real, because not funny, haha. It's like funny, like, oh my God. Because I was just like, before I went to bed last night, I was reading one of the first chapters of The Happy Pocket Full of Money. And it was all about like how time isn't real. It's just, it was like quantum physics and all that. It was just like that same exact conversation I was just reading last night. I'm like, oh, thanks, universe. I think you're trying to tell me a message. I gotcha. Because it's like, did you get that one?
That happens to me all the time. I will read the same piece of information. Like, I'll ask the universe a question and be like, hey, can you guide me on this? And I'll hear the answer on a podcast, and it's like, okay, hear it. Then I'll read it in a book. Okay, universe. And then someone will speak it to me, and I'm just like, okay, I get it. We're doing that, And that's how it works. Like, people think it's going to be like this big, massive, divine download, but we get downloads and inspiration and connection throughout our day through everything,
Yeah.
So we have to be open to seeing it and hearing it and witnessing the lessons that the universe is giving us,
Right.
Yeah.
It's so interesting you say that, and it's 3:33 right now, by the way. So one of my daily things, if anything stays constant, what I've started lately is I'll put, while I'm in the shower, I put a YouTube Abraham Hicks video on. So I've started doing this thing where when I pull up YouTube, whatever the very top video of an Abraham Hicks, blurb or whatever, rant, riff, whatever you want to call it, the first one, I'll put it on while I'm in the shower. And then that's my time. If I don't have, if I haven't meditated or if I haven't had anything, at least I listen to that. And I take that as that's my daily theme, my daily message. Right. And it's yesterday, part of it was about a guy who's his business wasn't going very well, and he lost an account or something, or maybe it was a relationship that he wanted to improve, whatever, either one. And she was telling the story about how, or they were telling the story about how Esther basically said, like, was traveling from San Diego to Dallas and said the word yeehaw over, to a friend, like texted, ooh, yeehaw, and was like, I've never said that in my life. Why did I say that? And then when they landed in Dallas, there was somebody who said, yeehaw, when they landed. And then like later on, she saw a license plate that said yeehaw. And she was like, so we ask you, if you think the universe can make all these three, synchronicities happen, which is like a seemingly like dumb thing, then don't you think it has the power to take care of the big things too?
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's such a first of all, I love Abraham Hicks, and the way that Esther like channels him is so fun.
Yeah.
Or the energy behind Abraham is so fun, but that's so powerful. But it's so funny because, and I always say this because everyone's into like the angel numbers now, but
Yeah.
it's all repeating numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is like angel numbers just aren't like the like 888 or like
Mm-hmm.
today I saw 999, but like I see 717 all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All the time, and it's all about like spiritual awakening and connection to source. But someone would just be like, no, it has to be 222 or 111, and it's just like, no, it's a synchronicity
Mm-hmm.
behind the numbers that carries a vibration.
Yeah.
Even 123 carries an energetic
Yeah.
vibration. But kind of going back to the synchronicities, it's just like you have to, like, Esther's willing and open to see
Mm-hmm.
universe, and that's just such a playful way. Like the universe wants to play. The universe doesn't want it to be like so strategic and strict and like, oh, I have to do this. Like if you can't meditate every day, or
Mm-hmm.
you wake up late one morning and then, I mean, this happens all the time. Like I'll wake up later and then Elliot's up as I'm waking up and I'm
Yeah.
just, oh, well, there goes a deep meditation, like it's okay, because you can't have shame or guilt around your practice. You can't
Yeah.
make it something that you have to do or you should do, and that's the only way that you can be connected. There's so many opportunities and ways to like connect to source energy.
Mm-hmm.
And when we put the shame and the guilt and like the restrictions on it and the shoulds, it loses all meaning.
Yeah.
It's not so much this playful fun practice where you get to like have this little co-creative dance with the universe. It's like it becomes very religionized, and I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Where it's just like, you miss the forest for the trees, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's like what I used to get all bent out of shape if that was the case, because I was like, no, I've got to do this and I've got to do this, and like now I've got the kids all day, and like then I started reframing it into like, there's a shit ton of people who would like love to be able to spend all day with their kids. And I remember when I was in corporate and I was like, why do I have to go to work? Like, I just want to spend time with my kids. And so it's like, now I already have that time, you know what I mean? And so sometimes maybe it's not like the meditation, the 20 minutes, maybe it's just sitting where you are with them and laughing and having fun and playing and, pretending to drink from the teapot 10 times in a row.
Yeah, you know what? That's one thing. Whenever I get like really stressed out, or like I'm like, when's the next client coming in, or like when's the next sign up coming on? That's one thing, like my guides and like the universe always downloads into me. It's just like, just be a mom, like just go back to being a mom, turn on music, play with her, like tap back into that energy, because her energy, and I'm sure the same things like for your kids, like children are light energy. They haven't been conditioned yet to be anything other than that,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so like tap into that. Like sometimes I'll just sit with Elliot, and I still nurse her. So like I'm able to like actually have her where she's sitting for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'll just like sit with her and I'll just like pull in her energy, because it's so loving and it's so like non-judgmental and just pure. Um,
Yeah.
but playing with kids, yes, like there's so many lessons to be learned from them, like
Yeah.
they're so open with their emotions. They don't give a shit. Sorry if I
Yeah.
cuss, but
No.
they don't give a shit if they have breakdowns or cry or tantrums. And like, that's such a natural state of being, like we're here to express those things and feel all those emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. They're so sweet.
I know.
I can hear them in the other room right now. Like, I think Liam went into Stella's room. Stella was sleeping, and so now they're playing, probably in the same crib together. So it's cool, you know. Yeah, have another child, and then you'll see. Yeah, they can play with each other. That's when like this like Tasmanian devil, you know, it's
I
cool.
lived in Denver for like 3 years, and I witnessed a lot of kids together at
Yeah,
once. And I actually was a live-in nanny for 3 boys under the age of 7. And
yeah,
like, I'm just gonna enjoy one child.
yeah. Oh my God, oh, yeah. Well, let's go into like you mentioned the divine feminine, that you know, that lean back and kind of energy is more the divine feminine, and like allowing that. How do you like, if okay, I spent 20 years in corporate America, and you know, before we learned all about all the other ways to classify yourself, somebody on the outside might have said, hey, you're a very driven type A kind of person, you know. I've been like developing further off of that, but I think there's a lot of people, if they listen to the podcast, they're probably still working, you know, the 9 to 5, trying to like get out and start their own, you would call it the side hustle, but that, you know, is usually, I guess, what it's called. But I don't really believe in the hustle anymore. And so, you know, where you feel like you got so much to do, and maybe I think especially when you have kids too, right? Or like you've got a busy life or a lot going on, it can be like a very big culture shock to find out, hey, wait a minute, there's a better way that you've probably just ignored for most of your life because it was like, must have all of this stuff done, right? So can you explain a little bit like what that is, just from like a basic, you know, for everybody listening, and then, you know, how you found that you tap into it, how you coach your clients and stuff, you know, just a few tips and things for us that, you know, the doers.
I used to be a doer too. I was raised in very masculine energy. My mom worked full time. She was like one of the only moms that worked full time. And my dad worked, and he was very masculine. And I've spent most of my life looking for my dad's approval.
Yeah.
I always ask my clients, and this is something that you can ask yourself, or um, the listeners can ask themselves right now is, you know, when you were growing up, who did you aim to please? Like, who did you look for validation, for external validation? Because as children, naturally we will. And
Yeah.
for me, it was very much my dad, and he was very much my masculine. And then the next question is always, what did they say to you when you came home from school or at the end of the day? Did they ask you how you felt that day or what you did that day? And most of my clients, because most of my clients are type A, at least when they start working with me, they're very much in like, I need to do this, I need to do this. It's because you were conditioned to believe that in order to receive love, you had to do something.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that's where that masculine comes from. And I would say it's a wounded masculine. It's not the divine masculine, because the divine masculine is consciousness. It's God source energy. It's that sun energy. It's ever present. You know, it's constant. It's there. It's stable. It's secure. It's the action. It's the doing. And that's beautiful. That's needed, right? We can't just be like fairies in the air, not doing anything.
Right.
But then the feminine would have been the question, how did you feel today, right? And that's something that I have talked to Justin about, because I'm just like, you know, when Elliot's growing up, we have to ask her more how she feels, because she's
Yeah.
already emotional. She's a Scorpio, and she's just already very emotional anyway.
Yeah.
Like one little thing will just kind of like set her off into like a little like mama. She started doing this mama. But anyway, so but that's more of a feminine question, the feeling and the being, and like you said, the leaning back, the surrendering, the trusting your intuition, the not
Mhm.
questioning it. That is the feminine. That's that divine feminine energy. On the flip side, there's a wounded feminine, and like I said, that's the lack of creativity, the lack of sexuality, sensuality, or an over amount of sexuality, right? Like that's like too much. um but it's almost like we're just out there and we're just like, oh, we'll just go with the flow and see what happens, and it's like a little bit too much of that. So what I teach my clients to do is to really balance that. Sorry if you hear Kobe. But
Okay.
what I teach my clients to do is to really balance that and really, and it's not even a balance, it's more of a synergy. You know, it's more
Yeah.
like, it's just this flow between the two. So I teach
Yeah,
them,
totally.
yeah, so I teach them this synergy and I help them because most of them are like this type A, this doing, doing, doing. I teach them how to embody their feminine. And I think that that's key there because the feminine is in her body. It's not so much about doing anything else. It's more so about removing the layers that are stopping you from being in your feminine. So what are you taking on from your parents or from past lives or generational trauma that's stopping you from living in your divine feminine?
I only just learned about womb healing yesterday.
Wow, yeah. Oh, wow.
um, through this mastermind I'm in, because one of the girls was asking about like what's the best time to like post an offer or whatever, and I was like, well, from what I've learned or seen, it's more of like the energy that that you're in when you go to post it, like that's the tapping into that. And but one of the other girls in the mastermind is like really like next level in all of it, and so she was saying, like she'll infuse it with like womb energy and like heart energy, like she's more like she helps intuitive healers promote their businesses and stuff, you know what I mean? So like she's like fascinating and all, and so just the topic came up, and so I started Googling, and so like literally if you look at all my past like browser links, you'd be like it's like how to consciously manifest your desires through sexual womb alchemy and the jade egg practice and stepping into the spiritual power of your you know womb energy, but then also healing then I was reading about healing the womb energy, and all of the things, like whether it's past lovers, right, or like just sexual traumas, or if people have that, or even I guess like trauma from relationships, like if like would it count, like if you're with somebody who like really broke a promise with you, or if you've got past lovers or boyfriends or whatever who cheated or abused porn or did other things that maybe made you not feel like what's the word for it, like feminine, like affected your sexuality,
It
or
took you out of your worth. So this is the way I see it, and it's really funny because here's the deal. Alchemy is just transmuting energy. It's just shifting the vibration of the energy, right? And I think right now it's like the terms are like so catchy and cool and
yeah.
all the things, right? But really it's just you changing that energy and shifting that energy. And for me personally, as I've done like the sacral healing work, and some people would say it's womb healing, it's the same place in your body, it's that same energetic space. Um, as women, I think we store most of our trauma there. I
Mm,
think if we were ever called fat in high school or in college, we store that trauma there. That takes
mhm.
us out of our self-worth. Our self-worth, and how we love ourselves and how we hold ourselves, it's stored in our sacral. So it's not just, again, it's not giving the power to the man that broke your heart,
Yeah.
5 years ago or whatever. It's saying, how did that person take me out of my worth? How did that person make me feel? When I
Mhm.
caught them looking at porn, what like did that trigger me? And then what emotion was that? Was it anger? Was it rage? Was it sadness? Did I express it fully? Because that's the work that you do to heal your sacral.
Yeah.
It's screaming, it's yelling, it's releasing anything that's stored in there, any energy that's stored in there, and letting it out in the most pure way, in the most raw form. You
Yeah.
so, but what's so powerful about this sacral energy once you heal it is that is your creative energy. That's your
Yeah.
sexual energy. That's a high vibration, right? That's a
Mhm.
super high vibration. That's what creates life. So if you can tap into that, you can manifest anything. You can co-create anything with the universe because you're so in tune with your sacral. And hey, if you just want to do it right now, put your hands on your womb space, on your
Ooh.
sacral, and just close your eyes
Mhm.
and just breathe into it. Take a deep breath and just feel that energy there.
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then if you want to connect it to your heart, put your right hand on your heart and your left hand on your womb, and allow the energy from your heart to go into your sacral.
Oh my gosh, it's like all getting hot.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really works, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading about this visualization you can do where like you visualize where you like drop down into your womb and like look and see, you know what I mean? Like open your eyes as you're in there and like look at what is in there, you know, like what shows up and stuff, like what colors it is, or if it's swirling and all, you know, and it was like when I did that, I felt like there was a lot of energy there and it was like all bright red and pink and stuff. Like it looked healthy, you know, but there was definitely like a lot of stuff in there that was just like, you know,
Stagnant. Did it feel stagnant?
no, it felt like very energetic, but it felt like not all the energy needed to be there. You know what I mean?
It's overactive. So it's calming that down a little bit.
Yeah, like maybe there was still some things, and it was like I could see parts of it, but then like there were corners that were where like I couldn't. So I think there's some things that need to like get out for sure.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is, so as women, I mean, you carried life. So that baby lived in your womb for 10 months, 9, 10 months. And that baby took up all your energy, and that baby absorbed all of your energy. So if you were anxious, or if you were scared to have the baby, or if there was other things happening in your life, other traumas happening while you're pregnant, the baby picked up on that energy. So if that happened when your mother was pregnant, or your mother's mother was pregnant, think
Yeah,
about how much trauma is now stored in your body. That's why I say it's not always your trauma that
yeah,
healing. It's and the way I look at it, and the way I teach my clients, because I work with a lot of moms, is it's you healing for your babies. You know, it's you healing that trauma because you created life for them. So even when I do the work, I'm doing it for Elliot, right? Like I'm healing that stuff so that we can break the cycle.
right.
So even if your great grandmother had, was maybe sexually assaulted or something happened, like you still picked up on that. And then there's the past life. I don't know if you believe in past lives, but I do. I believe we've lived multiple lives in our souls, and there's trauma from that too. In a past life, I was a witch and I was burned at the stakes,
Oh,
and
wow.
I was, basically shamed for my intuition, my intuitive powers, and my knowings. So think about coming into this life, and my soul is like, you got to do it all over again.
Right.
Because I don't want to get burned at the stake again. you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so it's looking at all that, and it takes time and it takes work, and it is crying and releasing. And my friend Olivia, she calls it purging. It's like you're purging all that stuff out, but the next level is so beautiful. It's just like this elevation in consciousness, and it's really, really beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Wow. It's also interesting. I love
And
well, I do remember like both times I was pregnant, I was like, really, really creative. Well, more especially with Stella, I was very, very creative. And
yeah.
I like literally well, I had two C-sections though too. So I didn't have a natural birth. But they did play Empire of the Sun in the delivery room when when Stella was born. I'm like, yeah, this is good. And so anyway, but literally like the night before we were going in, I was like in our garage with a circular saw, a like like the automatic, nail gun thing, and just like making a piece of furniture to hang all my jewelry on before like I went in to give birth the next day. Did all sorts of projects and things. So I definitely believe like it is your creative center. Like you've got to maintain it healthy, right? And so and I
Yeah.
totally agree. Like, I think there is a lot of stuff that comes in from past generations and things that, once you become like awake to it, you're able to heal it and then be better. Like that, like I feel like now that I've learned all this stuff and having kids, it's almost like, pardon the phrase, but a race against time. Since we were talking about how time isn't real, but like my kids are almost, well, one just turned 4, Stella just turned 2. But like if their subconscious brain develops, by the time they're 7, then I've got to really watch what I do and how I show and like the example. So it's like of utmost importance to me to become the best person possible as quickly as possible, and learn as much as I can and like integrate it and live it in alignment with all of it before, they start absorbing like a bunch of garbage that I'm generationally carrying through. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. It's not so much a race against time because it's a journey. And I think that anything can be healed anyway, and it's not so much about saying like I have to be completely healed by the time they turn 7. It's more so just saying, like, why not take them on the journey with you? Like, why not explain to them, like, even like, I get this a lot with moms who, maybe they yell or they just have like that moment of like mom breakdown where you're just like, oh my gosh, everyone stop talking, and maybe just saying to your kids like, hey, mommy's really sorry that that happened. I'm going to work on that. That was just a moment. Sometimes you might have those moments too. So what they're looking for more than anything is seeing how you're graceful with yourself and compassionate with yourself and how you love yourself, not so much that you're perfect. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of taking them along for the ride with you.
Well, thank God for that. You made me feel a whole lot better. Hopefully the people listening, if they have kids, they feel better too. Because yeah, I guess in that way, then you have that teaching moment of being like, this is how you would handle something, instead of running away from it or wanting to be perfect. Like, this is how you would handle, kind of fucking up in a sense. You know what I mean? Or not maybe being exactly 100% happy with how you reacted to something,
Yeah, exactly. I think guilt and shame, like those are such low frequencies.
Yeah.
I think that that's like what really like will affect, and Brene Brown teaches about this a lot. It's not about perfectionism. Like there's so much power in being vulnerable. So like be vulnerable with
Yeah.
your kids. I
Yeah.
was watching another interview on Gaia, and I don't know if you have Gaia, but it's literally like the Netflix of spirituality. And it was on conscious parenting, and it's more so like you're creating a partnership with your children. You're not creating like this controlling, like have to be perfect, everything has to be in order. Like they want to know that they'll still feel safe when they mess up, because
Yeah.
so it's creating that dynamic for them.
Yeah, totally. I know. Because you don't want to like break their heart because they think they messed up. And
Yeah,
then they'll still want to do like the best thing that they possibly can, but they know there's like a safe space.
yeah, exactly.
What would be your number one tip or, you know, guidance around quantum manifesting for those that are new to it? Because I love talking about that on the podcast too.
Okay, I would say you have to understand that anything is possible
Mm-hmm.
and that there's no limitations for what you can create. And I love to explain this to entrepreneurs because we are in a time where there are millionaires, multiple millionaires. I think we're in a time where there's more self-made millionaires made every single day than ever before, like ever in time. And most of them have created businesses literally out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in this coaching space, or if you're a healer or a guide or a mentor, or you have courses, like you've created that out of nothing. That's the quantum field. The quantum field is limitless possibilities, right? And when you can tap
Right.
that and that knowing, and you don't limit yourself and you don't create boundaries or like these little structures around yourself and your ideas and what's possible for you, that's manifesting in the quantum field. So
Yeah.
understand that, play with it, like
Yeah.
just allow yourself to play and then start to do the work. Like, here's the deal. It takes work to rewrite your subconscious mind, because I love my parents. I think that they did the best they could with what they had, but there was a lot of stuff that I picked up from them that I've had to unlearn and realize that that's not my beliefs, that's not my truth. So it's coming back to my truth, and that's the quantum, is coming back to yourself, coming home to yourself, and then manifesting from that space.
Mm-hmm.
So figure out who you are, what you believe in, what's your truth, and if you're carrying anything that's not yours, then release it, and if you need
Yeah.
help that, then hey, I'm here or you're here. And like, that's the work that we do, right?
Right. Exactly. Oh my God. I love it. I love it. I know. I feel like sometimes people think that it's more complicated than that, right?
No, it's
No,
simple.
it's really that like anything is possible. Like the only limits that we have are the ones we put on ourselves, like in all areas of life, and we can choose to interpret things in one way that will limit you, or you can choose to interpret it in another way where it's expansive, right? I think that's where like a lot of breakdowns in communications come through too, where like it's all up to somebody's model of the world and what their interpretation is. So you could say the same thing to two different people and they're like, I can't believe you'd say that to me. And others are like, oh, I can't believe I didn't think of it that way. Tell everybody what you're working on right now and where they can find you.
Okay, so I have some secret things coming out specifically for moms. So just follow me on Instagram and you'll get all the details as they release at laurenmegan.co. I have a membership portal. It's called Power Mystics, and it's for anyone that's wanting to dive into this work, into the spiritual, the woo, the mystical. It's basically your hub. It's $22 a month, so very affordable because I want you to be able to get this information and not necessarily spend an arm and a leg. And then
Right.
I do readings and Reiki healings, both virtually and in person. And then you can also work with me one-on-one, and that's a very sacred container. So I always suggest to people, like, let's kind of get on a call and see what's coming up for you, and we'll create something from there. So yeah, I'm a manifesting generator, so lots of ways to work with
Me
me.
too. Yeah.
Definitely tell for sure. Yeah.
Oh gosh. It's like written on my face.
You're like matching my energy, which is very hard for people to do. So
Oh, cool. Yeah. Oh my God. I love it. I love it. Well, I'll take that as a compliment. I mean, I don't know how much better we can go from there. So
thank you.
thank you so much. This is so much fun. I can't wait to release this to the world. And if you're listening now, then it's already been released. Like we just did the thing. But thank you so much, Lauren. I so love this conversation. I could talk about this for years. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, and I can't wait to catch up with you again soon. Thank you so much for choosing to push play on another episode of the Makeover Your Mindset podcast. If you absolutely loved today's episode, please take a minute to screenshot the episode, put it on Instagram, tag me, and let me know what's working for you. I absolutely love hearing from each and every one of you, and I love being able to bring this podcast to you on a weekly basis. Also, please take a minute if you're loving the podcast and leave a rating and a review. I absolutely love each and every review that's been put on iTunes. They help us reach more people, help more people find out about the Makeover Your Mindset podcast, and keep the good stuff coming to you. Thanks again so much. I love you all, and I look forward to meeting here again next week.